Hello, my name is Alison White, and this is PIDP 3230. I'm going to talk today about my informal assessment strategy, application cards.
This strategy is used by presenting students with an index card following a learning exercise on a new theory or principle. The student is asked to write down a real-life example on how to apply that principle. These would then be submitted to the instructor for review. The main principle that drives this strategy is practical application. Students learn how to take a principle and apply it to the real world, which in many areas of study is paramount to the link between academic knowledge and practical skills. This strategy also develops a student's ability to think critically. I feel that this strategy would work best for subjects where students learn a number of theories and principles which they must apply to real-world scenarios. My area of work is human resources management. This area of study requires academic knowledge, but also critical thinking and application skills, as many issues deal with human interactions and behaviors that can be very complex. An example of this strategy, if I were to use one, would be if we were studying a principle such as behavioral-based interviews. I would ask a student on an application card, you are recruiting for an instructor position. Provide 2 examples of interview questions that are behavioral-based. There are a number of advantages of using this strategy. It is a simple and easy assessment to prepare for the instructor. There is little time required to design the question. Reviewing the answers may take a little while longer, but there's not a formal evaluation procedure to have in place. There is also a direct relationship towards what is being asked and what the students already know. It's a very simple way to have students think about applying principles they have learned to the real world. However, there are some limitations to using this strategy. One may be that students are asked to shift focus to something specific related to a particular principle. The instructor may not intend for the learners to become too specific about a principle and only thinking of a couple of examples of how it's applied. As well, some students just may not be interested in this assessment and therefore will not take the time to think critically about it. It does not give them the same experience. Another advantage is that this type of activity reinforces that the learning environment is both an academic and a practical one. They are not just learning about a theory or a principle, but they are applying it to real-life examples. Also, students benefit when the instructor provides examples that other students have come up with. However, a limitation is that students who are taking introductory courses may have difficulty applying the principles. Overall, it may be tougher for students who have not been in the workforce to be able to apply principles to real-world concepts. Some best practices for this strategy are to ensure that students receive feedback, which I'll discuss in a moment. You can also encourage students to keep a journal of their applications. They can devote time during each class to write an application for a principle that they're learning. You can also let students work in small groups depending on the level of the students and the complexity of the principle. Also, if it requires a little bit more time and thought, you could also give the students the assessment as a homework assignment and ask them to bring it in for the next class. Providing feedback for this assessment is very important. One way to provide feedback is to pick out a handful of good examples to read out to the class. This ensures students learn from each other's examples. Sometimes students remember bad examples, so you want to ensure that they remember the good ones for future use. I would also provide an opportunity to discuss the applications with the students in class. This may take more time than you have allotted, but it's very important for good feedback. In summary, this informal assessment strategy is a quick, easy one which would work well in a course to develop academic and practical skills. There are a number of advantages of using this strategy, one being that it is not overly time-consuming for an instructor. Most importantly, instructors should ensure that students receive proper feedback for future learning.